Captain Sarah Chen gripped the arms of her chair as the Times Endeavour Times shook violently. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge, and the sound of stressed metal filled the air. Outside the main viewing window, stars twisted into impossible patterns as some unknown force pulled their ship toward a massive structure. "What is that thing?" whispered Lieutenant Torres from the navigation station. The structure was enormous, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest space station. Its surface was smooth and dark, with strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Sarah had never seen anything like it, and she had been exploring space for 15 years. "Captain, our engines are not responding," reported Chief Engineer Kim. "Something is controlling our ship." Sarah tried to stay calm. The Times Endeavour Times was Earth's first ship capable of traveling faster than light. They had been testing the new drive system when they detected this object near Alpha Centauri. Now it seemed their curiosity had gotten them into serious trouble. The ship was pulled into a docking bay inside the alien structure. The bay was filled with bright white light, and Sarah could see other ships of different designs. Some looked ancient, while others appeared to be made of materials that seemed to flow like liquid metal. "Life support is stable," reported Dr. Martinez, the ship's science officer. "The atmosphere outside matches Earth normal." Before Sarah could respond, figures appeared on the bridge. They were not solid, but made of light that formed the shapes of different alien beings. Sarah counted at least 12 different species, each more strange than the last. One looked like a tall insect with 4 arms. Another resembled a floating jellyfish with dozens of tentacles. A third appeared to be made of living rock. The figure in the center was humanoid, but much taller than any human, with blue skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, the words came directly into their minds, rather than through their ears. "Greetings, primitive beings of the third planet of Sol System. I am Counselor Valdris of the Galactic Council. You have committed a serious violation of galactic law." End quote. Sarah stood up slowly, trying to project confidence she did not feel. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Times Endeavour *. What law have we broken? You have developed faster-than-light travel without council oversight. This violates the Primitive Species Protection Act, established 47,000 Earth years ago. Your species is classified as dangerous and unpredictable." "Dangerous?" Sarah could not hide her surprise. "We are explorers, not conquerors." The alien that looked like an insect stepped forward. "Your species has a history of constant warfare. In your brief existence, you have fought over resources, territory, beliefs, and even the color of your skin. You create weapons capable of destroying your entire planet. You compete instead of cooperating. You refuse to submit to authority." Dr. Martinez whispered to Sarah. "Captain, they have been watching us." Counselor Valdris continued speaking. "The Council governs 847 species across this galaxy. We maintain peace and stability. We prevent wars. We guide primitive species toward proper development. Your species threatens this order. So what do you want from us?" Sarah asked. "You will surrender all faster-than-light technology. You will submit to Council authority. Your species will be relocated to a suitable world where you can live safely under our guidance. You will abandon your aggressive ways and learn to exist in harmony." Sarah felt anger building in her chest. "And if we refuse, then your species will be pacified for the greater good of the galaxy." "What does that mean?" "Your military capabilities will be eliminated. Your technology will be reduced to appropriate levels. Your population will be managed to prevent future problems. This process is always regrettable, but sometimes necessary." Sarah looked at her crew. She could see the fear in their eyes, but also something else, the same stubborn defiance that had driven humans to explore dangerous oceans, climb impossible mountains, and reach for the stars. "How long do we have to decide?" 72 Earth hours from the moment you deliver this message to your leaders. We are returning you to your world as messengers. Do not attempt to resist or delay. Council ships are already moving into position around your system. The holographic figures began to fade. As they disappeared, Counselor Valdris spoke one last time. We hope your leaders will choose wisdom over pride. Your species has potential, but only if you learn to control your aggressive nature." The aliens vanished, and immediately the ship's systems came back online. Sarah rushed to the navigation station. "Torres, get us out of here. Maximum speed back to Earth." "Yes, Captain." As the Endeavor times accelerated away from the alien structure, Dr. Martinez approached Sarah. "Captain." While they were talking, I was scanning their database. I managed to download some information about other species they have dealt with. "What did you find?" 43 species have been pacified in the last 10,000 years. "Captain, none of them exist anymore as advanced civilizations. Most went extinct within a few generations. The ones that survived were reduced to primitive hunter-gatherers." Sarah felt cold despite the warm bridge air. "They are not offering us a choice. They are offering us slow death or quick death." "What will Earth do?" asked Lieutenant Torres. Sarah looked out at the stars racing past. Somewhere behind them, alien ships were moving toward her homeworld. Somewhere ahead, 8 billion humans were going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire future hung in the balance. "I do not know," she said quietly. "But I know humans. We do not surrender easily." Chief Engineer Kim spoke up from his station. "Captain, there is something else. While their systems were interfaced with ours, I managed to copy some of their technical data. Their ships are powerful, but their technology is old, very old. They have not innovated in thousands of years." "What does that mean?" "It means they have grown comfortable. They expect everyone to submit without a fight. They might not be prepared for a species that fights back." Sarah nodded slowly. "Prepare a full report for Earth Command. Include everything we learned, everything we scanned, everything we copied. If humanity is going to face this threat, we need every advantage we can get." As the Endeavor times raced toward home, Sarah wondered what Earth's leaders would decide. She hoped they would choose to fight, because she was beginning to understand something the Galactic Council did not. Humans were not dangerous despite their refusal to surrender. They were dangerous because of it. The emergency session of the United Earth Government began at dawn in Geneva. Leaders from every nation sat around the massive circular table, their faces grim as they listened to Captain Chen's report. On the main screen, images of the alien structure and the council members played on repeat. President Liu Wei of the United Earth Government stood at the podium. She was a small woman, with steel-gray hair, but her presence filled the room. "We have 70 hours to make the most important decision in human history," she said. "Captain Chen, please summarize the alien demands." Sarah Chen stood at attention. "The Galactic Council wants us to surrender all faster-than-light technology, submit to their authority, and accept relocation to a world of their choosing. If we refuse, they will use force to make us comply." "And their deadline?" 68 hours from now, Madam President." Murmurs filled the room. Defense Minister Jackson from the North American Federation raised his hand. "What kind of force are we talking about? How many ships?" "Unknown, sir. But they claim to govern 847 species. Their technology is far beyond ours." Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading expert on alien life, stepped forward. "Madam President, I have been analyzing the data Captain Chen brought back. I need to share what I discovered about species that have been pacified by this council." "Go ahead, Doctor." Dr. Vasquez activated her tablet, and new images appeared on the main screen. The council's database contains records of 43 species that refused to submit and were pacified over the last 10,000 years. I have traced what happened to each of them. The room fell silent as Dr. Vasquez continued. 31 of these species are now extinct. The remaining 12 exist as primitive hunter-gatherer societies, with no memory of their advanced past. The Council does not relocate species to preserve them. They destroy them slowly to avoid having to deal with them again. Admiral Marcus Webb, head of Earth's Space Defense Initiative, slammed his fist on the table. "Then we have no choice but to fight." "With what?" demanded Finance Minister Chen from the Asian Commonwealth. "We have 12 ships capable of faster-than-light travel. They have an empire, spanning the galaxy. Admiral Webb stood up, his military uniform perfectly pressed despite the early hour. We have something they do not expect. We have the will to fight. Look at their history, people. 47,000 years of ruling the galaxy without serious opposition. They expect submission because that is all they have ever received. You are talking about suicide, said European Union Representative Kowalski. I am talking about survival, Webb replied. Dr. Vasquez just told us that submission means extinction. If we are going to die anyway, let us die fighting. President Liu Wei raised her hand for silence. Admiral, what are our military capabilities? Limited in space. But we have advantages they might not expect. Our nuclear arsenal, for one. Our experience with warfare, for another. Most importantly, we have a population that has never known submission to alien authority. Dr. Vasquez spoke again. There is something else. The technical data Captain Chen brought back shows their technology is extremely advanced, but also extremely old. They have had the same basic designs for thousands of years. They have not had to innovate because no one has challenged them. What does that mean for us? Asked President Liu Wei. It means they might not be prepared for new tactics or rapid technological development. Humans have always been good at adapting quickly to new threats. Minister Jackson leaned forward. How much time would we need to prepare? Admiral Webb consulted his notes. If we start immediately, we could have basic orbital defenses ready in 60 hours. Our existing nuclear weapons can be modified for space combat. We have volunteers already requesting combat assignments. And our chances of victory. Webb was quiet for a long moment. Against their entire empire? Nearly zero. But we might be able to make them pay a price they have never paid before. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the building. A technician ran into the room and whispered urgently to Admiral Webb. The Admiral's face went pale. Madam President, we have a problem. Our deep space monitoring stations are detecting massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Not just toward Earth, the Council is mobilizing fleets toward dozens of other worlds. Dr. Vasquez grabbed the technician's tablet and studied the data. These are all species that have developed space technology in the last 1,000 years. They are not just targeting us, they are preparing for a galaxy-wide pacification campaign. The room erupted in shocked conversation. President Liu Wei called for order. This changes everything, she said. They are not responding to humanity alone. They are eliminating all potential threats at once. Admiral Webb nodded grimly. Which means there might be other species willing to fight back if someone shows them it is possible. End quote. You are suggesting we start a galactic war, said Minister Chen. I am suggesting that war is already starting, Webb replied. The only question is whether we fight back or wait to be destroyed. President Liu Wei looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Fear was there, but also determination. She thought about her children. About the billions of humans living their lives unaware that everything was about to change. We need to vote, she said. All in favor of surrendering to the Council's demands? 3 hands went up. President Liu Wei counted them carefully. All in favor of resistance? The rest of the room raised their hands. It was not even close. Then it is decided. Admiral Webb, you have full authority to prepare Earth's defenses. Dr. Vasquez, I want you to analyze every piece of alien technology we captured. Use every resource you need. Admiral Webb saluted. Yes, Madam President. What should I tell the people? President Liu Wei walked to the window and looked out at the city of Geneva below. People were walking to work. Children were playing in parks. Life was continuing normally. In a few hours, she would have to tell them that everything had changed. Schedule a worldwide broadcast in 2 hours, she said. It is time Earth spoke with one voice. 2 hours later, President Liu Wei stood before cameras broadcasting to every nation on Earth. Behind her was the United Earth flag, and beside her were Admiral Webb and Dr. Vasquez. Citizens of Earth, she began. Yesterday we learned that we are not alone in the universe. Today, We must decide what kind of species we choose to be. She explained the Council's ultimatum and what submission would mean. She told them about the other species being threatened. She spoke about the choice between slow death and the chance to fight for freedom. The Galactic Council has sent us a warning, she concluded. They demand our surrender. They threaten our destruction if we refuse. They believe we will submit because fear is all they understand. They are wrong. Earth answers their warning with a declaration of war. We reject their ultimatum. We reject their authority. We will fight for our right to exist as free humans. We call on all species facing this threat to stand with us. Today, the galaxy learns what it means to face humanity. As the broadcast ended, Admiral Webb turned to President Liu Wei. The die is cast. Yes, she replied. Now let us see if we can teach an ancient empire what humans do when threatened with extinction. The Council fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Counselor Valdris stood on the bridge of the flagship Times Eternal Harmony *, watching the tactical display show 68 Council warships, arranging themselves in perfect formation. Each ship was over a kilometer long, armed with energy weapons that could destroy cities, and protected by shields that had never been penetrated. Begin standard pacification protocol, Valdris ordered. Destroy all military installations first, then demand immediate surrender. The fleet moved toward Earth like a slow, unstoppable tide. Valdris had overseen dozens of pacifications during his long career. They always followed the same pattern. A show of overwhelming force, followed by quick surrender when the primitive species realized they could not win. But as the Council ships approached Mars, something unexpected happened. The space around them suddenly filled with small human vessels moving at incredible speed. These were not warships, but converted civilian craft, cargo haulers, mining ships, even luxury yachts. Each one had been loaded with nuclear weapons and was piloted by a single human volunteer. "What are they doing?" asked Sub-Counselor Thrix, his insectoid features showing confusion. Before Valdris could answer, the first human ship rammed directly into the shield of a Council destroyer. The nuclear explosion was enormous, but the Council ship's shields held firm. Then the second ship hit, and the third, and the fourth. By the time the shields failed under the constant nuclear bombardment, 12 human pilots had died to destroy a single Council vessel. "This is not standard behavior," Valdris said, his calm beginning to crack. "Primitive species do not sacrifice themselves for tactical advantage." Captain Sarah Chen watched the attack from the Bridge of Times Defiance *, Earth's newest combat vessel. It was barely a month old, hastily constructed using parts from the Times, Endeavour Times, and alien technology they had stolen. Around her, the surviving human fleet prepared for the real battle. "Admiral Webb, this is Chen. Phase 1 complete. We have their attention." Admiral Webb's voice came through the communication system. "Good work, Captain. Begin Phase 2. The Battle of Luna began in earnest as the Council fleet moved to engage what they thought were Earth's main forces. But Admiral Webb had studied every piece of alien technology Dr. Vasquez could provide, and he understood something the Council did not. Their weapons were designed to fight other energy-based systems, not primitive nuclear technology. Captain Chen led her small squadron directly toward the Council flagship. Instead of firing energy weapons, her ships launched modified nuclear missiles that had been wrapped in debris to look like space junk. The Council's sensors, designed to detect sophisticated threats, ignored what appeared to be harmless floating rocks until it was too late. The explosions tore through the Council formation. Nuclear fire, which the aliens had dismissed as primitive, proved devastatingly effective against their energy shields. More importantly, the radiation interfered with their sophisticated targeting systems, forcing them to fight nearly blind. But the Council had overwhelming numbers. For every alien ship destroyed, Earth lost 3 vessels. Captain Chen watched her squadron disappear one by one. But nobody ran. Nobody surrendered. Defiance *. This is Time's Liberty *, came the voice of Captain Rodriguez. "My engines are gone, but I still have weapons. I'm going to ram the big one. Negative, Liberty *. Pull back, and we will cover your retreat." Quote, "Sorry, Captain. My crew voted. We are going in. Captain Chen watched the Liberty Times accelerate toward the Council flagship on emergency power. The ship was already burning, its hull cracked from enemy fire, but it stayed on course even as alien weapons tore it apart. At the last second, the Liberty Times detonated every nuclear warhead on board. The explosion was so bright that every sensor in the battle zone went temporarily blind. When the light faded, the Council flagship was gone, and Counselor Valdris was dead. Sub-Counselor Thrix assumed command from a secondary vessel. But he was beginning to understand that this was not a normal pacification. In all of galactic history, no primitive species had ever caused this level of damage to a Council fleet. Even more disturbing, the humans kept fighting even when their ships were crippled and their crews were dying. Order all ships to pull back to minimum engagement range, Thrix commanded. Use long-range bombardment to reduce their numbers. But Admiral Webb had anticipated this tactic. Hidden bases on Earth's moon suddenly came alive, launching massive nuclear-tipped torpedoes that had been disguised as mining equipment. The weapons moved slowly compared to energy beams, but they were impossible to detect until they activated their guidance systems. The Council found themselves caught between human ships, attacking from space, and hidden launchers firing from Luna's surface. Their sophisticated tactics, developed over millennia of fighting other energy weapon civilizations, proved nearly useless against humans who fought like ancient barbarians, armed with nuclear weapons. Captain Chen's Defiance Times was one of the last human ships still fighting when the tide of battle finally turned against Earth. Her bridge was filled with smoke, half her crew was dead or wounded, and her weapons were nearly exhausted. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres, blood streaming down his face from a head wound. "We have lost main power. Life support is failing." Through the main viewing window, Chen could see Council ships moving to surround her vessel. In any normal battle, this would be the time to surrender. But humans had long ago decided this would not be a normal battle. "Torres, how many nuclear charges do we have left?" "3, Captain. But the launch system is damaged. Can we detonate them manually?" Torres looked at her with understanding. "Yes, Captain. If someone stays behind to trigger them." Chen activated the ship's communication system. "Attention all crew. We are about to be boarded. Anyone who wants to surrender may do so. Anyone who wants to fight, follow me to the engine room." Not a single person moved toward the escape pods. The Council boarding party found the Defiance Times eerily quiet. They moved through empty corridors, searching for survivors to interrogate. They found the crew in the engine room, standing around 3 large nuclear devices. Captain Chen looked at the alien soldiers with calm eyes. "Tell your masters that humans do not surrender. Tell them that every ship you destroy will cost you dearly. Tell them that we have 8 billion more people who feel exactly the same way." She pressed the detonation switch. The Battle of Luna ended with the destruction of the remaining human fleet, but Sub-Counselor Thrix stared at his damage reports with growing horror. Of the 68 ships that had entered the solar system, only 41 remained operational. 27 Council warships had been destroyed by a primitive species using crude nuclear weapons and suicidal tactics. "How many casualties?" he asked his aide. "Over 40,000 dead, Sub-Counselor. Another 60,000 wounded." Thrix had never heard of a pacification causing such losses. In the entire history of the Council, primitive species had killed fewer than 1,000 Council members total. These humans had caused more damage in a single battle than all previous pacifications combined. "What are your orders, Sub-Counselor?" Thrix looked at the blue-green planet hanging before them. Earth's orbital defenses were destroyed. Its fleet was gone, and its people were defenseless. The pacification should be complete. But something in his ancient mind told him that this victory felt very much like a defeat. "Maintain blockade positions," he ordered. "Do not approach the planet. Send a message to the High Council immediately. Tell them we need reinforcements." "How many ships, Sub-Counselor?" Thrix thought about Captain Chen and her crew, about the human pilots who had died ramming their ships into Council vessels, about a species that preferred nuclear suicide to surrender. "All of them," he said quietly. "Send all of them." News of the Battle of Luna spread across the galaxy faster than the Council could control it. On Kepler 442b, The Zenth mining colonies heard about humans who chose death over surrender. On Proxima Centauri C, the aquatic Mordon received reports of a primitive species that had destroyed 27 Council warships. On 1,000 worlds throughout the galaxy, species that had lived under Council rule for millennia learned that resistance was possible. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in Earth's new underground command center, deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Banks of computers surrounded her, all working to decode alien technology salvaged from the Battle of Luna. She had not slept in 3 days, but the breakthrough she had just made was worth the exhaustion. "Admiral Webb," she called across the room. "You need to see this." Admiral Webb approached her workstation, his uniform rumpled and his eyes red from lack of sleep. The entire human leadership had been living underground since the Council established their blockade of Earth 3 weeks ago. "What have you found, Doctor?" Dr. Vasquez pointed to her main display, which showed a complex diagram of Council ship design. "I have been analyzing the wreckage from their destroyed vessels. Look at this energy distribution pattern." Webb studied the data, but it meant nothing to him. "Explain it in simple terms. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it is also incredibly specialized. Every system is designed to work with every other system in perfect harmony. It is beautiful engineering, but it has a critical weakness, which is, it cannot adapt. Their ships are built to fight other Council ships using Council tactics. When we attacked them with nuclear weapons and ramming attacks, their systems did not know how to respond effectively." Webb felt a spark of hope. "So we can beat them?" "Not directly. They still have overwhelming numbers and superior weapons. But we can make ourselves so expensive to defeat that they might choose to negotiate rather than fight." Before Webb could respond, Captain Chen entered the command center. She had been leading raids against Council supply lines using Earth's few remaining ships. Her uniform was torn, and her face was streaked with dirt, but her eyes burned with determination. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Council is bringing in reinforcements, but they are also doing something else. They are attacking other worlds throughout the galaxy. The same species Dr. Vasquez identified as potential threats." Dr. Vasquez pulled up a new display showing galactic communications traffic. "Sarah is right. I have been monitoring their transmissions. They are conducting simultaneous pacification campaigns against 47 different species." Webb felt his heart sink. "So we started a galactic war?" "No," said a new voice from the entrance to the command center. President Liu Wei walked in, flanked by 2 security officers. "We revealed a war that was already planned. The Council was always going to eliminate these species. Our resistance simply forced them to act openly." She approached Dr. Vasquez's workstation. "Doctor, have you made contact with any of these other species?" "Yes, Madam President. 12 species have responded to our communications. They are forming resistance movements based on what we learned at Luna. The Zenth have begun guerrilla attacks against Council mining operations. The Mordan are using their underwater cities to hide rebel fleets. The Corven have actually captured a Council outpost." Captain Chen stepped forward. "I have been in direct contact with several rebel commanders. They want to coordinate attacks, but they need our tactical expertise. More importantly, they need hope. We showed them that the Council can be hurt. Now they want to hurt them back." Admiral Webb studied the galactic display. Red markers showed Council pacification fleets, while blue markers indicated known rebel activity. There were more blue markers appearing every day. "What are you proposing?" "A formal alliance," Chen replied. "The Free Species Alliance, with Earth as the coordinating center. We share our tactical knowledge, they share their resources and local expertise. Together, we might actually have a chance." President Liu Wei nodded slowly. "Do it. Dr. Vasquez, I want you to establish secure communication links with every rebel group. Captain Chen, you will coordinate military operations. Admiral Webb, begin planning for a multi-species resistance campaign." Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed. The Council found themselves fighting not one primitive species, but dozens of rebellious civilizations using human tactics. Suicide attacks became common as other species learned from humanity's example. Nuclear weapons, previously considered barbaric, proved devastatingly effective against Council shield technology. Dr. Vasquez made another crucial discovery while analyzing captured Council computers. The Council's technological superiority was not based on innovation, but on suppression. For thousands of years, they had deliberately prevented other species from developing advanced technology by providing them with inferior alternatives and destroying any civilization that showed signs of true innovation. "Look at this," she explained to a holographic conference of rebel leaders. The Zenth had developed quantum computing 500 years ago. The Council destroyed their research facilities and gave them primitive computers instead. The Mordan created biological starships that could heal themselves. The Council classified the technology as dangerous and forced them to use mechanical vessels. A Zenth commander, his rock-like features showing anger, spoke through the translation system. "They have been holding us back deliberately." "Not just holding you back, Doctor," Vasquez replied. "They have been stealing your innovations. Look at this Council energy weapon design. It is based on Corvin plasma technology from 2,000 years ago. Their faster-than-light drives use principles discovered by the Helian race 3 millennia ago. The implications were staggering. The Council was not an advanced civilization that had earned the right to rule. They were parasites who had stolen the innovations of others while preventing those same species from realizing their full potential. Captain Chen used this information to devastating effect in her raids. Working with rebel engineers from a dozen species, her ships now carried hybrid weapons that combined human nuclear technology with alien innovations the Council had suppressed for millennia. A Zenth quantum targeting system could guide a human nuclear torpedo with pinpoint accuracy. Mordan biological armor could protect a human ship while it delivered its devastating payload. The Council found themselves facing weapons and tactics they had never encountered, created by species they had deliberately kept primitive. Even worse, the rebels were learning from each other faster than the Council could adapt. Human competitive instincts, which the Council had viewed as dangerous, proved to be the key to rapid innovation when combined with alien knowledge. Sub-Councillor Thrix, now commanding the entire Sol blockade, received increasingly desperate reports from across the galaxy. The human infection was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. Species that had been peaceful for thousands of years were building weapons. Civilizations that had accepted Council rule were declaring independence. Most disturbing of all, they were winning battles. "How many ships have we lost this month?" he asked his aide. 347, Sub-Councillor. "The rebels are coordinating their attacks now. They hit our supply lines, our communication relays, our research facilities. It is like fighting smoke." Thrix looked at the tactical display showing the galaxy. Red markers indicating Council control were being replaced by blue rebel markers at an alarming rate. The careful order that had existed for 47,000 years was collapsing. "What does the High Council command?" "They are recalling all fleets from pacification operations to defend core Council worlds. They want to negotiate with the human leaders." "Negotiate?" Thrix could not hide his surprise. The Council did not negotiate with primitive species. The High Council believes that if they can eliminate human leadership, the rebellion will collapse without coordination. But Thrix had fought humans at Luna. He had seen them choose death over surrender. He doubted that killing their leaders would stop them. If anything, it would probably make them even more dangerous. "Send a message to the High Council," he ordered. "Tell them that these humans are not like other species. Killing their leaders will not stop them. It will only teach the rest of the galaxy that martyrdom is more powerful than submission." As his message raced toward the galactic core, Thrix looked down at the blue-green planet that had started this war. Earth hung peacefully in space, but its influence was tearing apart an empire that had ruled the galaxy for longer than human civilization had existed. For the first time in his long life, Sub-Councillor Thrix wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake in threatening humanity. They had wanted to eliminate a dangerous species before it could threaten galactic stability. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous: hope. The assault on Galactic Central began at precisely 1,200 hours Galactic Standard Time. Ships from 47 different species dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the core system, their hulls bearing the blue star symbol of the Free Species Alliance. At the center of the formation flew the Times New Endeavour *, Admiral Sarah Chen's flagship, carrying the hopes of a galaxy that had finally learned to fight back. Admiral Marcus Webb watched the tactical display from Earth's command center, his heart racing as he saw the culmination of 6 months of planning. All fleet commanders report ready, Admiral Chen. You are authorized to begin Operation Prometheus. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her ship, surrounded by the finest officers from a dozen worlds. Her tactical officer was a Zenth, whose crystalline brain could calculate hyperspace jumps instantly. Her weapons officer was a Mordon, whose biological neural interfaces allowed him to control hybrid weapon systems with thought alone. Her engineering chief was a Corvan, whose plasma expertise had revolutionized their shield technology. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Today we end 47,000 years of oppression. Today we give the galaxy back to its children. All ships, attack formation, Omega. Begin the assault. The Galactic Central Station was enormous, larger than Earth's moon, an artificial world that had served as the Council's seat of power since before human civilization existed. It was defended by 1,000 warships and protected by shields that had never been penetrated. The Council's greatest minds lived there, ruling over an empire of nearly 1 trillion souls across the galaxy. High Counselor Axios, eldest of the Council's ruling body, watched the approaching rebel fleet with ancient eyes. He had lived for over 10,000 years, had overseen the pacification of hundreds of species, had maintained galactic order through careful control and absolute authority. How many ships? He asked his military commander. Approximately 8,000, High Counselor. A significant force, but nothing we cannot handle. And their composition? Mixed species using hybrid technology. Their ships appear to be combinations of primitive and advanced systems. Our analysts believe they will be easily defeated once we engage them properly. But as the battle began, it became clear that the Council's analysts had made a critical error. The rebel fleet did not fight like any single species. They fought like humanity had taught them to fight, with creativity, desperation, and absolute refusal to surrender. Zenth ships used their quantum computers to coordinate attacks with perfect timing. Mordon vessels employed biological camouflage to appear as space debris until the last moment. Corvan plasma weapons punched through Council shields like they were made of paper. And throughout it all, human nuclear weapons created chaos and destruction that the Council's sophisticated defense systems simply could not predict or counter. Admiral Chen led a spearhead assault directly toward the station's core, her ship protected by a formation of volunteer pilots who had learned humanity's most important lesson. Sometimes the only way to win was to be willing to die trying. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as the Alliance's chief technology officer, monitored the battle from her position aboard the Times New Endeavour *. She had discovered something crucial in the weeks leading up to the attack. The Council's central station was not just their seat of government, but also the location of their master control system. Admiral, she called over the communication system, I am detecting the quantum control matrix. It is exactly where our intelligence predicted. But Admiral, it is bigger than we thought. This system has been manipulating galactic development for thousands of years. Can you access it? If we can reach the core chamber, yes. But Admiral, I am reading something else. Energy signatures that match no known Council technology. I think there are other systems down there, much older systems. The battle raged for hours as the Alliance fleet fought its way through layer after layer of Council defenses. Ships fell on both sides, but the rebels kept pressing forward, driven by the knowledge that this was their one chance to break free from an empire that had held them down for millennia. Captain Torres, now commanding his own vessel, led a strike team to clear the station's docking bays. Lieutenant Kim, promoted to admiral after the Battle of Luna, coordinated fighter attacks against Council defensive positions. Every human who had survived the early battles was here, along with thousands of aliens who had learned to fight like humans. High Counselor Axios retreated deeper into the station as rebel forces penetrated the outer defenses. For the first time in 10,000 years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear. Not fear of death, which meant little to someone who had lived as long as he had, but fear of change, fear of losing the order that had defined his existence. "Activate the archive," he commanded his subordinates. "If we cannot maintain control, then let them learn the truth. Let them understand why the galaxy needs the Council." Admiral Chen and Dr. Vasquez reached the core chamber, accompanied by a mixed team of human marines and alien specialists. The chamber was vast, filled with technology that seemed to blur the line between machine and living organism. At its center stood a quantum computer system unlike anything any of them had ever seen, but they were not alone. High Counselor Axios waited for them, his ancient form supported by mechanical devices, his eyes holding the weight of millennia. "So the barbarians have come to the heart of civilization," he said, his voice carrying a sadness that surprised them. "We have come to end your tyranny," Admiral Chen replied. "Tyranny?" Axios laughed bitterly. "Child, you understand nothing. Do you think we built this empire for pleasure? Do you think we conquered the galaxy because we enjoyed ruling over others?" Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her scanner detecting impossible energy readings from the ancient alien. "What are you?" We are the survivors," Axios replied. 50,000 years ago, this galaxy was home to dozens of advanced civilizations. They fought constantly. Just as your species does, they competed for resources, for territory, for the right to impose their beliefs on others. Do you know what happened to them? They destroyed themselves, Dr. Vasquez whispered, understanding beginning to dawn. They destroyed the galaxy. Entire star systems became battlefields. Planets were shattered, suns were extinguished, whole species were wiped from existence. When the wars finally ended, only we survived. And we swore that such destruction would never happen again. "So you prevented anyone else from advancing enough to threaten you," Admiral Chen said. "We prevented anyone from becoming powerful enough to start another galactic war," Axios corrected. "The Primitive Species Protection Act was not about protecting us from you. It was about protecting you from yourselves." Dr. Vasquez studied her readings more carefully. The quantum computer system was not just controlling galactic development. It was actively suppressing technological advancement, preventing scientific breakthroughs, and manipulating the evolution of entire civilizations. "You have been controlling everything," she said. "Not just preventing war, but preventing progress. You have kept an entire galaxy in chains for 50,000 years. Better chains than extinction," Axios replied. "That was not your choice to make," Admiral Chen said firmly. "You do not have the right to decide how other species develop. I have pros. Unquote. And you do not have the right to unleash another age of galactic destruction." The argument might have continued, but Dr. Vasquez had found what she was looking for. Deep within the quantum computer system, she discovered the master control protocols. More importantly, she found something else. The accumulated scientific knowledge of thousands of suppressed civilizations. "Admiral," she called excitedly, "I can reprogram this system. Instead of suppressing development, we could accelerate it. Instead of preventing progress, we could guide it. Every innovation the Council has stolen, every breakthrough they have hidden, all of it is here." "And what happens when these liberated species develop weapons capable of destroying stars?" Axios demanded. "What happens when they decide to test those weapons on each other?" Admiral Chen looked at the ancient alien with something approaching pity. "Then they learn from their mistakes. Just like we did. You cannot prevent war by preventing growth. You can only prevent growth. Begin the reprogramming," she ordered. Dr. Vasquez worked frantically at the quantum interface, while Council forces tried desperately to retake the core chamber. Alliance Marines held the entrances, while Vasquez rewrote 47,000 years of galactic control programming. "It is working," she reported. "But Admiral, the system is fighting back. It is designed to resist major changes. How long do you need?" 20 minutes. You have it." The final battle for the core chamber lasted exactly 19 minutes and 37 seconds. When it was over, Dr. Vasquez activated the new programming, and across the galaxy, Suppressed technologies suddenly became available to the species that had created them. Scientific knowledge that had been hidden for millennia was released. Innovation that had been stifled began to flourish. The Galactic Council, its control systems subverted, and its authority destroyed, formally surrendered within hours. 3 months later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Federation station, watching ships from hundreds of species arrive for the first meeting of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds. The station orbited Earth, a deliberate choice by the newly liberated species, who insisted that humanity, having started the rebellion, should lead the new government. President Liu Wei, now serving as the Federation's first Secretary General, joined Chen at the viewing window. "Any regrets?" she asked. Chen watched a Zenth research vessel dock alongside a human exploration ship. Their crews already planning joint missions to regions of space the Council had declared forbidden. About starting a war that killed millions? Yes. About giving the galaxy its freedom? Never. The Axios survivors have requested asylum on a remote world. They claim they only want to be left alone. Over one. Grant it, Chen said. They were wrong, but they were not evil. They genuinely believed they were protecting the galaxy. And if they are right? If this new freedom leads to another galactic war? Chen smiled, thinking of Captain Torres commanding his own exploration fleet, of Dr. Vasquez working with alien scientists to unlock mysteries the Council had hidden for millennia, of thousands of species finally free to reach for their full potential. Then we will deal with that when it happens. But at least they will face that future as free beings, not as subjects in someone else's empire. Below them, Earth turned slowly in space, a small blue world that had somehow convinced an entire galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for. The planet looked peaceful from orbit. But Chen knew that down on the surface, humans were already planning new expeditions, new inventions, new ways to push the boundaries of what was possible. That, she realized, was what the Council had never understood about humanity. They saw humans as dangerous because they refused to accept limits, but that same refusal to accept limits was also why humans never stopped growing, never stopped learning, never stopped reaching for something better. The galaxy was free now, free to make its own mistakes and achieve its own triumphs. It would not be easy, and it would not be safe, but it would be real. And for humans, that had always been enough.